Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's been a while. Podcast hasn't been really uploaded. Videos haven't been happening. Just want to explain what's been going on. So I just started my master's again. Picked it back up. I'm still working my 9 to 5 as well. So it's been a little tough to upload, to say the least. And then also to add on top of that, I really screwed up my wrist. I got an MRI. They said that I'm going to be gone for at least another month. So I've been trying to think of creative ideas and like some content to throw you guys' way. And what I came up with is interviewing some really good golfers that I've got some connections to through social media and really just picking their brain. I feel like even though I was able to break 80 and I finished my goal, I know a lot of people have followed this channel trying to break 80 themselves. So that's kind of what my thought process is. So with that being said, I am bringing on Verrico, who is a 2 handicap. I met him through TikTok. He posts some awesome videos, a lot of skill videos, a lot of helpful tip videos, and then also he plays a lot of holes and posts those as well. And I think he gives some really good insight for beginner golfers and people that are really trying to break 80. So if you guys do enjoy, please like, share, and subscribe. I think I'm going to change the podcast name from My Pure Golf Podcast to the Z Corn Golf Podcast. It may stick, it may not. I know there's been a lot of like different changes that have been happening with this channel, so we'll see what happens. But without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, well, Vince, first off, thank you so much for coming on the channel. We're trying to bring back podcasts, bring back, some of these interviews. I've done some of these interviews before with some of like, some people that are either really good at golf, and can kind of give some, insight into, how the average golfer, people like me that are trying to break 80, how they can actually improve in golf. And then I have some people that are, really, they're very notable when it comes to like TikTok space, when it comes to YouTube and everything like that. So I appreciate you being back on the show, Vince. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. I don't really talk about myself a whole lot, so this is a cool thing for me to get to do and like talk about like my kind of journey through golf and life and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm feeling good, man. How about you?
I'm good. I'm really excited. You were one of the first people that I kind of followed on TikTok when I started my whole page. And so it was really cool to see how, first off, your page kind of grew to where it is now. And kind of seeing your golf journey along the way, because there are some things I do want to ask you in this interview that will be popped up later. But Vince, why don't you go ahead and start us like with your background? Like, how did you, where'd you come from? Did you play sports growing up? Like, how did you really get into golf?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up right here in New Jersey, where I live. I only live about 20 minutes from where I was born. Um, but I through my whole life I played baseball, football, and hockey growing up through like middle school and young school. And then when I got into high school, it was lacrosse and ice hockey. So that's the sports I played. So my first actual round of golf, I remember I played in a scramble tournament for my township's like sports club to raise money for at Fort Dix to raise money for the football team.
Mhm.
And I think me personally, I did terrible that day. I only remember one shot, and it was like from 110 yards. I hit a 9-iron to like 3 feet.
Yeah.
And like, that was the only shot that I remember from the day.
Mhm.
And then from that point, I didn't really pick up golf again until it was like 2016. I played a couple of rounds there in 2017. Me and my buddies literally would go to Goodwill's, buy a bag of like cheap golf balls and shank them around the course as we just, had a good time together.
Yeah. So before we continue on, Vince, why don't you go ahead and tell the viewers that don't know you, like, where is your current golf game at? Like, what is your, your handicap? Like, what's the best round you shot? Kind of to give people some idea.
Sure. So to start or to pick up where I left off there, I started in 2020, like taking the game seriously.
Mhm.
And I think I started at like a 30 handicap when I started like tracking that.
Yeah.
Right now, I think my current handicap is a 2.3. I think that's what it dropped to after my most recent round. I played at Palmetto Dunes and shot 72.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a good round. My best round ever is a 67. I played a course down in Virginia called something Lakes. The heck was it called? I'll have to remember that later. But we
Yeah.
went out there with my cousins when I was down there, and that day, like it was one of those days as a golfer, you just hope to happen. Like everything was on. I hit my driver right where I wanted. I was hitting wedge shots to like a couple feet. Par fives were nothing to me. It was just a great day. Made 6 bogeys or 6 birdies, and I freaking bogeyed the 17th hole. I hit one like a little short, and I hit a wedge. I hit a little wedge chip that I hit a little too low on the face, and it rolled too far by. And then I lipped out the putt. I was like, "Oh, this will be the first round I didn't make a freaking bogey." But yeah, that was my best round for sure.
I got you. So yeah, you just mentioned that you started in 2020. Was it 2020 or 2022?
2020 during the pandemic is when I really picked it up.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of golfers that will be listening to this, like they can relate. I know that when 2020 rolled around, I was playing baseball and I needed to do something else as well. So I kind of got into hockey, and that's kind of when Good blew up. That's when everyone
Yep.
kind of started picking up, the golf club and started swinging around. It's kind of interesting though, listening to your story because so you mentioned that you played lacrosse and hockey in high school, and I'm
Yep.
really interested because coming from hockey, which we don't have it down south, I live in Georgia. Um,
Okay.
how do you see your game in golf? Were you able to like easily translate hockey into golf? Like explain that to me because I feel like the natural motion of a slap shot is relatively the same to a golf swing.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I think from hockey and lacrosse and baseball, like I already had a lot of power from the rotation feeling, but I definitely had to work the slap shot feeling out of the swing because in ice hockey you have to hit the ice and then the puck to get the ball to get the puck to move.
Gotcha.
Whereas and you're kind of like slapping at it, whereas you got to really use your lower body to swing the golf club. So I had to work out the getting the chest moving after the hips instead of before.
I got you. I got you. So when, we're talking about how your golf career is kind of, transformed into what it is today. Did you have any lessons once you started to get serious with golf, or was it kind of just natural? How did your golf swing kind of come to where it is today?
So for the first 2 years, it was just me practicing like by myself. When I was living at home when I first started, my parents had like this 50 or 60 yard backyard in
Okay,
the wood, back in the woods, where I would just literally took my dad's old tiki torches and I put them around the yard and I would hit wedge shots to them just to practice.
nice,
It wasn't until the end of 2022 where my coach Ryan, his name's his Nine Iron Golf Services on TikTok.
nice.
Um, we had met on during one of the Create Tour tournaments, and we had just linked up and he lives like 40 minutes from me. So he started coaching me and really helped me kind of refine the swing so I
Yeah,
could create more of a repeatable swing overall.
I got you. I got you. So how long have you been working with him? Ever since?
We've been, yeah, since then we don't really do a whole lot of lessons anymore because he's what he said to me is like my swing was good enough that it was kind of just kind of managing it. It was like did making little tweaks here and there to make sure that I was remaining in the slot and turning my body right.
Yeah,
But yeah, we meet up every so often to play some golf, and we'll do like little check-ins to see how my game's going.
I got you. Yeah, and you just mentioned, and I was getting to this. You mentioned the Create tournament. Is that what it's called? The Create tournament?
It's the Create Tour, yeah.
Creator, yeah. So what is that? Like I remember watching it on TikTok and seeing a bunch of the creators that I was kind of following and keeping up with. You guys kind of did you guys all come together and play in a tournament together? Like how was that for you?
So the Create Tour is was made by these two guys, Ty Tomahawk Young and Dreadful Golfer. They're brothers from Tennessee,
Okay.
and they basically wanted to have like tournaments and fun together where content creators could get together and play and film and be able to make content. So they host a couple tournaments a year. They have one coming up in October. That's the Southern. That was their first one. They do that yearly, and then most recently they've begun doing the. I guess it was the Flamingo, but now it's the Flow Rider Cup, where we go down to, I think they're going to host this every year down at Innisbrook in Florida. So we
Yeah.
got to play we played the South course twice, the Island course once for the scramble, and then we actually played Copperhead the day before the pros came in for the Valspar.
Oh
That
wow.
was that was an experience. I've never experienced rough. I mean, I swear the rough was like 4 inches thick. You could drop the ball in it from where you were standing and couldn't find it. And then
Yeah.
the greens were like glass. Like if you were above the hole, good luck.
Yeah. Wow. So you went from so are these tournaments like in the southeast? Is that typically where they're at? Like since they're from Tennessee, or do you guys like go
Well,
all over the place?
yeah, most of them. We did have one out in Denver for the Chunky in 20 last year in 2023. We
Okay.
went out to and played a couple courses in Denver, and I think Chunky's. I don't know if he's doing it with the Creator, but he's having another one in August in Utah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It seems really cool. It seems like a bunch of people that are very chill, very laid back on the golf course. I feel like sometimes with golf, you've got a lot of old heads or people that are very stickler to everything, playing it by the book. But it seems like from those videos that you guys are out there having fun, just like, a lot of, fun times, just chilling and hanging out. And it just seems like a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Like we usually have the Friday round will be something fun. It was used to be Friday Fun Day. Now it's like either like something like a blind draw or something along those lines. Then we always do the scramble on Saturday, and the scrambles. I personally love scrambles because
Love it.
someone's in the fairway. I'm just going to try and murder the golf ball. I
Yeah.
usually buy like a box of 12 just for the scramble day, and then we have Championship Sunday where it's a stroke play event that's flighted A to D.
Okay, got you. Yeah, and I mean, you are already a long hitter, so scrambles are your forte. You just get
Oh
to
yeah,
blast and just.
yeah, I try and just I'm trying to hit 350 every time. Just
I
let
hear
it
you.
fly.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I kind of want to jump into now, like your story with golf now, right? So, some people may know you like on TikTok. You've got over 10,000 followers right now on TikTok. You've got
Which is
stuff.
insane.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember. I think I scrolled through your page probably a couple months ago now, and I remember that one of your like most simple tip videos ever just
Yep.
absolutely blew up. And why don't you go ahead and kind of explain that to what it was to the listeners, and yeah, just go from there.
So it was literally just a tip video talking about how to roll the ball on the line. I filmed it in my basement in maybe like 10 minutes. It was just a tip where you put a yardstick down and try and roll the ball off the other end of the yardstick. And if you can do that, you're rolling it on your line. And it just absolutely exploded. It got like 750,000 views. I gained almost 6,000 followers from
Wow.
just that video alone.
Wow.
So that one, it just came out of nowhere. I got more than half my followers from it, and it was. I remember I posted it and it didn't. I feel like the first like maybe hour and a half, it
Yeah.
didn't get very many views, and then all of a sudden I check my phone and it's just TikTok notifications going crazy. I'm logging in every 10 minutes into seeing 99 plus.
Yeah. So that's probably it's safe to assume that's probably what really took off your account on TikTok is that
Oh,
video.
absolutely. Absolutely. And there were a couple others where I talked about like being a three handicap when I played poorly, and it
Mm.
got a couple 100,000 views, and you should have seen those comments, man.
Oh, I know. I already know the TikTok like space, and it's like if they aren't following you, if they don't know your story, it's automatically they're so hypocritical on every single little thing that you do.
Yep.
It's just every single time. And that's why I mean I enjoy your content because you like to mix it up. So like why don't you go ahead and like kind of explain what you enjoy posting, like where you see yourself kind of like posting from here? Like what give me your thoughts on that.
So the two things I think I like filming the most are probably tip videos. And when I film tip videos, I'm not a pro yet. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but when I film tip videos, it's just simply things that worked for my game that made me like better. So
Mhm.
like to share them because maybe someone else will see it and be like, oh, that could work for me, and then it does.
Sure.
And then the whole vlog videos are always fun because I know I just like talking to the camera, and I look like I know we all look like psychopaths when we have a camera set up and we're talking and people are like, what is this guy doing? But I enjoy doing those because it's fun to share golf content, good or bad.
Well, I mean, you give me that vibe, and from watching your videos, it's very personable, right? You're somebody that, some of these golf videos, like I mentioned earlier, some people are so like to the book, like they're so, I mean, they grew up in golf, right? Like you and I, like
Right,
we kind of joined golf later, so it's kind of like we're getting the side of it where it's more laid back, right? You've got newer golfers coming in that, may not fully tuck in their shirt when they're playing the entire round, right? And they won't be
right.
sticklers for that, right? So it's really cool seeing your account because it's kind of like a bridge between somebody that is a very good golfer, which is you, of course, and then people that are watching it and trying to just get into golf, right? And so that's kind of why I
Absolutely.
wanted to have you on for this podcast because it feels like you're a really good bridge, right, for those people. And so what I'm curious about, and you kind of mentioned it just then, is that you mentioned pro. And so
Yep.
before we get into that, there is one thing that I did see on your channel that I do want to ask you about, and I'm very curious about is I don't know how long ago it was. It's probably a couple months ago at this point. But did you happen to play in a tournament to potentially be qualified as a coach? Is that kind of the route that you went at
So
one?
yes, what I did was take the player's aptitude test, the PAT, and basically what it is, it's a 36 hole 1 day event where you have to shoot a target score, which is usually like it's the course rating plus 15 strokes for 36 holes. So the target score for me was 157 at the course I played at. So you have to shoot, it was basically 80, or it was 158. So it was, no, 157. It was 80. You had to shoot 78, 79 to pass, like
Gotcha.
average.
Gotcha.
And basically what that does is it qualifies you to start the PGM program, which is like you can go in different directions, become a PGA pro, like a golf professional, or you can become a coach, or you can do management. It's like things like that in the golf world. And it gets you that little PGA thing behind your name wherever you go.
Got you. Got you. So kind of lay that out for me if you don't mind. Like how did that tournament go for you? Like what ended up going down? Like I'm very curious about that because one of my closest friends is currently trying to get ready for his PAT test.
Absolutely. So I actually ended up failing by one stroke, and it was it was the saddest thing because it started at set like my first I teed off at 8 or 8:10 or something, and you go around the course once. I shot 73 the first round, so like I thought for sure I had to do shoot 84 the second round, and I passed.
Yeah.
But when it got later in the day, it was that weekend. I don't know if it was probably hot down there too. It was like a weekend where it was like 100 and 100 like back to back days. So I
Okay.
played both those days, and then the day following, it wasn't as hot, but it was really windy. So it got up in the morning, it was very calm, but once it got to our noon, I think I teed off at like 12:30 in the noon or in the afternoon, and it was like 40-mile-an-hour winds, like
Yeah.
gusting. So the second round was way harder. I couldn't keep the ball. I would hit it straight, and you would just see the ball fly 40 yards left or 40
Wow.
yards right, depending on where you were. So at coming down 18, I needed a par, and the 18th hole is a 600, just about a 600-yard par five, which earlier in the day I birdied it. I hit a hybrid 3 wood wedge, and I made the putt.
Yeah.
But the second time I played it, I decided to hit hybrid again, and the wind just blew it way left. I hit my hybrid again. It blew way left again, and I had like 210 in from the rough. I hit 5 iron. I got on the green. I had like 90 feet, and I three putted.
Oh,
I told myself that morning I didn't want to be in the position where I needed to make a score on 18. I wanted to come in just like
right.
I can make a 15 on this hole and I'm fine. But
Right.
unfortunately, the wind made it really tough that day, and I just didn't make it. But the cool thing is the way it used to work is you had to pass in one day. But the
Mhm.
way it works now is since they don't have enough PGA pros, you can take PAT again, and you can combine two scores, one from each PAT as long as it's in the same year. So
Really?
I'm going to take my next one's in October at a course called Honeybrook in Pennsylvania. And as long as I shoot below an 84 and 83, I think depends on the rating, I'll pass in
So
one of the two rounds.
you're able to take your two best scores then. So it's like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how many times you take it throughout the year, as long as you
Right.
get two scores that reach your target number. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, exactly.
That is wild. I actually had no idea about that because I was talking to my friend and he thought it was like, well, you got to play 36 holes on one day. You got to make sure that you shoot under par and then you're pretty much or not under par, sorry, under 80 or whatever it may be, the target score. And then that's either you pass or you don't pass. So you're
Yeah.
saying that it's different now.
Yeah, it's now it's different where you can use two different scores, and you can start doing the PGM program if you make a target, like if you as long as you score low enough in one of your two rounds, it qualifies you to start the PGM program. So my 73 round qualifies me to start. So I got my background check done, and I'm going to start doing the program pretty soon. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm gonna try and make it out so that next time I would like to pass it that day, just like both of them be good enough, but having one good enough makes it feel a little bit better. So if I go out there and don't play as well in the first round or whatever, or if I play football in the first round, the second round can just be a fun round of golf.
You just mess around. You can drive her off the deck every single hole. It doesn't even matter, you know?
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
awesome. That's awesome. So what I'm curious now. So you said you're going to the PGM program and you said there's two different routes. Like what are you interested in when it comes to your golf career and what you want to end up doing with it?
I really want to coach.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of golfers out there who I play with. Like I play a lot by myself because just the way I go, and I see so many golfers that I'm playing with, and I see them do something, and I'm like, oh, if you had just done this, or if you would just like little things, or either like around the green with chipping or putting or whatever. I see little things, and I'm like, if you had just done this, you would have hit that way better. And I
Yeah.
don't ever offer advice because I don't want to be that guy, but that's why I want to be a coach is someone will come to me and say, hey, I want to fix my golf game. I'll be like, all right, let's do it. Like, let's find out what your specific issue is and let's work on it together.
Yeah. I mean, if you're able to have that title, then it's very easy and you become more approachable, while you're there and you're playing and it's easier for people to be more receptible to you, right? So,
Absolutely. I mean, I guess the only thing I really want to mention specifically is just a lot of people when they see like when I played at Palmetto Dunes and I told them my score I shot that day, they were just like, "You've only been playing for 4 years," and I was like, "Yes." But here's the thing that is the difference between shooting a certain score or getting better is just you just have to practice. There is no shortcut in golf. Like I know, like the pros say it and rich people say it, like you have to put in the work, but it's so true. Just
Mhm.
go out there. Like some days I can't get outside because it's 1,000 degrees here. I'm sure it's the same in Georgia. I'll
Mhm.
just go down to my basement for like a half an hour, 45 minutes, and just putt and just roll putts over and over and over. So that way I feel like my putting stroke is good enough. Or I'll
Mhm.
go to the range and just hit 3 or 4 clubs and just focus on those clubs. Because whatever, here's another thing I do too, and I'm a little bit of a psychopath for this, but I have a note on my like a Google Doc on my computer that every round I'll go and grade myself, like driving, approach, chipping, putting, sand, everything. I'll grade myself
Yeah.
and then I'll like give myself homework of what I want to work on before my next round. And
Yeah.
that really has helped me because if it's like, oh, my wedge shot's inside 60 yards, we're awful today. We're gonna go to the range and we're just gonna grab the lob wedge and we're just gonna hit 1,000 of those.
Yeah, you're giving me a little bit of a Matt Fitzpatrick vibe. That's really what you're
Yeah.
giving me when you're recording every single thing, and obviously it's working for you. I mean, you're clearly passionate in what you're trying to do, so it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. There's a bunch of questions that I want to ask you in terms of golfers trying to break 80, and I'm glad you kind of led with that because there's a bunch of things that I want to pick your brain about, and hopefully we can kind of get out there so that people that are listening to this, they can really kind of take something away, which I think it's great what you're doing because not a lot of people are doing that homework, writing down every single little thing that they want to work on or need to improve on. And typically, most golfers, they only remember probably the last 6 holes of their round. And if they really turned it on in the last 6 holes, they forget about the duff chip that they had on hole one or like the missed 3 or 4 putt that they had on hole three, right? So I think that's really, really good what you're trying to do. So continuing on with the questions about like, golfers trying to break 80, right? So one of the biggest things that I'm focused on and a lot of people that, I've talked to is their road to break 80, right? So Vince, I know you talked about recording every single shot and trying to practice as much as possible, but what's one tip that you would give a golfer that's trying to break 80?
Oh, that's a really tough one because there's like a lot of parts of the game that I'd say if you're trying to break 80, generally off the tee, you're okay. Like you're not hitting it out of bounds. You may get yourself in trouble. I get myself in trouble all the time because I shouldn't be hitting driver on some holes, and your approach game is pretty good. So really what I would tell people is just work on anything from an uncomfortable number with your wedges and in. Like anything that's less than a full swing. Because there's often times where you'll hit one of the trees and you got to punch out and you have a 60-yard shot. You're much more likely to get up and down if you can hit it 60-ish yards and be pin high than if you hit it way short or way long.
Yeah.
So I think overall it should be your wedge game and then of course your putting. Like I've had rounds where I only hit 3 or 4 greens because my approach game was awful, but my chipping and putting were good, so I still shot in the low 80s or the high 70s.
Yeah.
So it's definitely I'll preach short game all day long because if you can get yourself close to the hole with a wedge in your hand and you feel confident with a wedge in your hand, you're going to score a lot better. And even if you don't make par, if you make bogey, saving a bogey is way better than making a double because you tried to do something heroic out of the trees.
Yeah. How when you talk about like around the greens and trying to get up and down, do you use one specific club for all your chips around the green or do you kind of rotate through and through?
It depends. So it really depends on, I let the course make the decision for me. So if I have a short chip or if I have to go over a bunker or there's a near side, like a short-sided pin that I have to go up a hill for, I'll be using my lob wedge and I'll try and like open up and manipulate the face or something like that. But if I have something if I'm in like the fairway grass or even just off into the rough and I have a lot of green to work with, I'll hit a sand wedge or even my gap wedge just to get it to roll back there because it's the higher percentage shot is getting the ball to roll compared to landing it in a very specific spot with your lob wedge and hoping it does what you want it to do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people do that. It really just depends on the situation. I kind of want to continue along that route. So, golfers, average golfers, right? A lot of the excuse out there is I work a 9 to 5. I got to take care of the kids when I get home. I got a lot going on in life. So I'm just going to resort to being a weekend golfer, which is totally fine. I'm not saying that it's not, but then they get upset about a certain score that they're trying to shoot and they don't shoot that score. So, Vince, do you have any suggestions for that golfer, the golfer that is trying to improve their golf game, but maybe they're in a bit of a time crunch? What would you suggest to them?
I would say find 10 to 15 minutes out of your day, whether it be while you're on break at work, like bring your for me, I have a 7 iron that I literally keep in my office at work. And at lunch, I'll sometimes just make swings because I ate my lunch and I'm done. But find 15, yeah, let's say 15 minutes out of your day, roll a few putts, hit a few chips. I have a net in my backyard, sometimes I'll go out there and just work on the mechanics of the swing. And even if you don't have a net and you just want to work on your swing, just work on the mechanics. There's a drill that you'll see Rory McIlroy do where he crosses his arms and focuses on if you can do that for even 10, 15 minutes a day and you focus on turning your hips before your chest, that's going to help you just develop the muscle memory of doing it. So if you can find 15 minutes a day just to work on something,
Yeah.
it'll help you that much more because you do 50 minutes a day is better than no minutes a day.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really good point with the Rory drill. I know a lot of people they do have the excuse of, oh well, I don't have a net, so I can't go to the range, right? But there's a lot of things that you can do mentally that you can mentally prep yourself for 10 to 15 minutes a day, and it can make all the difference in the world of you beating your friends or not beating your friends on the weekend. So, that's there any like tips that you specifically want to talk about when it comes to what you've seen on the golf course or things that you've seen that amateurs are doing? And you are just like wanting to wring their neck because they're not doing it correctly, or you think that they should be doing it differently?
I have two.
Hmm.
The first one is golfers taking like if let's say their normal 150 shot to 7 iron and you got to go over water and a bunker and then they're pulling 7 iron. No, hit your 6 iron. Like please club up. And I tell people all the time, learn how to hit a knockdown shot. Choke down half an inch, maybe an inch, and make a wedge swing. And I promise you, you will hit the ball straighter and further than you think you would because most golfers don't hit the center of the club face. Like they think they do, but they don't.
Yeah.
So if you take an extra club, even if you misstrike it, you'll still get the number you want. And with a shorter swing where you're going to like, 9-3 or 10-2, a smaller swing, you're going to make better contact. And if you choke down, this a lot of people don't know, if you choke down, it makes the shaft stiffer because it doesn't flex as much. So you'll get a more solid strike. So that's
Mm.
the first one. And the second one is ball position. I can't tell you how many times I see people where they have a 5 iron in their hands and they'll have the ball in the back of their stance, or they'll have a wedge in their hand and the ball's at the front of their stance. I'm like, and then they hit the ball with like a wedge and it doesn't go anywhere. I'm like, you need to put the ball further back. You need to compress it. If you hit it with the front in the front of your stand, the ball's going to go straight up in the air. It's going to go nowhere, which is fine if you're around the green. But if you have 115 yards, it's not going to get there. So one of the biggest things I could tell people is just work on your ball position. If you put it in the right spot, you have a better chance of striking the ball and having the club face in the right spot. Because if it's too far back, club face is open. Too far forward, it's closed. So that's why you could be missing left or right if you don't have it in the right spot.
That's definitely a big one that a lot of average golfers just overlook. I mean, I know I play with a lot of friends that every single club, even the driver, it's like right in the middle of their stance. And it's a disaster, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, no, I absolutely hear you. Those are two really good tips. Is there anything else that you want to kind of throw in the podcast before we sign off? Is there anything else that you wanna share?
Yeah. Here's one other thing.
Yeah.
Learn to hit a stinger. I tell
Mm,
this to so many people. If you can learn to hit a stinger, that choked off swing, and not even just for the fact that it looks cool, but if you can learn how to hit the ball lower off the tee or anywhere, the ball isn't in the air as long, so it can't go offline as quickly.
yeah.
I literally, for the longest time, I took my 4 iron and I would just practice hitting stingers over and over and over because it caught and forces you one to rotate your hips first. Because if you don't rotate your hips when you're hitting a stinger,
Yeah.
you just pop it or it goes nowhere. Sorry. And then if you are able to hit the stinger again, lower to the ground, not affected by wind, it gets on the ground faster. I see so many people where they hit the ball so high and it slices off to the left or the wind takes it. I'm just like, if you can just hit it lower,
Yeah.
it will help you. And stingers really help your club face control. If you
Mm,
can, because if you have to get that club face around quickly to get the stinger, you got to get a feel for where the club face is.
I got you. Is that your fairway finder, the stinger? Like that's your go-to fairway finder?
My go-to fairway finder with driver or 3 wood, I'll tee it down maybe a little bit lower than I usually do, and I'll try and hit it like a little low cut. That's
Yeah.
my go-to for the fairway finder.
I got you. I got you. Those are all great tips, Vince. I got nothing else. Why don't we go ahead? Like, why don't you go ahead and plug your socials so people know where to find you on all your different platforms, and then we'll go ahead and sign off.
Cool. Yeah, so I am at Golfing with Vince. It's on the hat. I don't know if that's gonna be the right way or not, but at Golfing with Vince on TikTok and Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey, Vince, thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely have you back on. I'll be reaching out to you whenever are you planning on competing in tournaments later this year? Or I know you got like the test coming up, the PAT, but do you have anything else that's coming in the horizon or no?
No, that the PAT is my big focus right now, and I think if I'm going to play another tournament, it'll probably be the one down at Innisbrook. But I am looking to maybe get into some local tournaments. I've only ever played one local tournament, and that was a couple of years back just to try it. But yeah, right now the focus is on the PAT.
Cool. Yeah, well, we'll definitely have you on to update us, because when you do make it and you do get your PGA license, then it'll be a great story to share. But awesome, Vince. Well, hey, thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, man.
Cool.